So welcome to this webinar today. I'm happy to have you here. This is episode 2 of our comms webinar series, which we are running this December. My name is Katarina Hanzelova, and I am Communication Manager as a Joint Secretariat, and I will be guiding you through this session today. As if you have been with us last week, as Frank mentioned, our aim of these webinars was really to provide you with a space for peer-to-peer learning and exchange. So I would really like to encourage you to speak up. Do not hesitate to raise a hand or just open your mic. It is really a space for you to share your experiences. As also last time, we're going to be using a Slido for a bit more of an interaction. So please join us on slido.com with the hashtag #CContent. Actually on my first slide, because I would like to start with a little warm-up Slido question right away. You will also see a QR code for the smartphone, so you can also use it and follow it on the mobile. So let me start sharing my presentation. I hope you see it all fine. And as promised, the very first Slido question of today, there is a many, and we even have a quiz. So I actually encourage you to type your name in because maybe you can win something. So the question is, did you actually attend the last week's webinar? Okay, we have 7 people already joining. And basically majority of you were with us last week. This is actually really good to see. Okay, so a little bit more of you did not manage. In any case, if you did not manage to follow us last week, there is a recording on our YouTube channel, so feel free to watch it. If you haven't been with us last week, we looked at the recipes for success and actually planning of effective communications. In today's session, we will be looking more at the good content and how to actually craft a user-centered website content, actually not only for your website, but also for your digital tool. So this is where we are today. And this is our short agenda. We will start with a short walkthrough of the project websites and interface and the various tabs. Then I am very happy to have with me here today Luisa Janičke. She's a communication manager at Eberswalde University for Sustainable Development. But she's also a communication manager of a Healthy Forest Regions, our first call project. And on top of that, she is a professional copywriter. So I'm very happy to have her here today. I'm sure she will share some interesting tips on how to write a good content for your website. And in the second part of the webinar, we will be looking a little bit closer at adopting a user-centered approach for your digital tool with some practical exercises in the breakout rooms. So this is our agenda for today. And we can start by moving into my presentation on an introduction and a walkthrough of the project websites. I would like to actually start with the Slido question. Again, we have sent you login details to your website some time ago, and I would be curious to know if you have already actually managed to update your project website. Wow, this is amazing. So perhaps my presentation is not that needed. This is really good to see that at least those of you who have so far replied in a Slido has already seen the interface and the backend of your website, and you actually also created some content for it. So this is very encouraging. So I guess the next slides will be very familiar to you because I would like to walk you through the interface and various steps. I see that there are some people who have not logged in yet, but that's fine. I hope this presentation will give you a little bit more insight. And one more question is actually how do you find the website editing interface for those who have already edited it? Oh, easy to use. I'm not sure, still exploring. Okay. You know, there is this saying among the developers that the interface is like a joke. It's not, if it's not a good, if you don't get it, it's not a good one. So I guess having a good interface, which is easy to use, is very encouraging to see. And no one finds it complicated. So this is really good news. I'm very happy about that. We actually really aim to make it easy for you so you don't need to spend a lot of time on learning ins and outs of editing of your backend interface, and you can really concentrate on writing a good content for it. Thank you for this. And let's maybe start with a little bit of a background. If you have been with us in the past, or actually if you have been around Interact for a while, you would probably know or maybe remember that in the past, each project created their own website. This process was long, it was very expensive, costly, and by the time the project website was actually online, project was coming to an end. So the information pretty much straight away went offline. So as of, I think it was 2014, yes, the previous programming period, we decided to host the project websites on our own website. This move brought with it a lot of challenges, but I think a lot of opportunities as well. And I hope that you also appreciated this harmonized look, and also uh, more visibility to the projects. And of course, I hope that ultimately also an easier job for you as a communication manager. So this is your project website today. And this is your homepage. Or actually, this is the website with all the tabs. In today's digital world, I think having no online presence is basically something like you don't even exist. So I think it's really essential that you consider your website as a tool, really important digital platform which helps you to connect with your audience. So every tab actually in this website is your opportunity to make an impression. And so I would really encourage you to spend some time on writing a good content for it. We provide the structure, but you are the ones who are filling it with the content. So let me guide you through the tabs very quickly. I just want to say that, first of all, I think you might have noticed that in a backend, you will find a user manual for the website. So actually all this information is available there. I do encourage you to have a look, because apart from the actually tackling the technicalities of the backend interface, you will also find there some tips on how to write the good content for a various tabs. And this demo page, which actually I have here on the screenshots, is also available in on cloud. So if you want to maybe get inspired, please do have a look. Your homepage, basically your website comes with a homepage in a way. This is the default state, and you probably realized very quickly that most of the information is here actually already. This is because it is connected directly with the GEMS database, so you don't need to actually worry about a lot of data which are on this page. Nevertheless, you still can make it your own. You can change the header image, and you can also provide an about the project description, in which you can introduce your project in more detail with the objectives, activities, and also expected results. I do recommend to keep the text short and easy to understand. When it comes to the project partnership section, you probably realize this is also already populated with the content, and this content is coming from the application form. Unfortunately, there are also some downside to automatization in this respect, is that If there is a change or if there is a typo or if there is a mistake in your project partnership information, I'm afraid it's not that easy to change it. It can only be changed once the application form in a GEMS is reopened. So I would really try to raise awareness here that in case you have an ongoing modification in your project, this is also your opportunity to change the partnership data. Then there are also a contact details at the very bottom of the page. These can be updated easier because they are actually linked to the contracting section of the GEMS. So if you change your project management team, feel free to change it in a GEMS and do let us know so we can trigger an APA call and update your data. Next tab of the project website is the roadmap. When we were developing the roadmap at the beginning, we were really not sure what we want to make out of it. But at the end of the day, I think it actually works. I really like to read roadmaps of our projects because they really offer very quick glance into the project in a storytelling way. So it is your opportunity to really show your project journey from the challenge you are tackling to the solution you are developing. If you are unsure how to write this section, you can consult our user manual. We provide the tips there on how to write it. Of course, you can make it your own. You don't need to follow this structure. Nevertheless, I think it actually works pretty well. And maybe just one more note that using a landscape images works a little bit better. With most of the sections on your website, you provide the information or you create the content and it's very much static, so you don't need to revisit it so often. Nevertheless, the news is actually where your project shows its pulse. I recommend to keep this section really fresh. Share your news with the users and the visitors. I do want to actually point out that this section is directly connected with our program website. Already now, with having 100 projects, there is more than 1,000 news. So really the amount of news is growing every day. Therefore, is really important that you tease with your headline, and in your intros should really hook the reader to want to get to know more. Otherwise, it might happen that users will not click on your website, on your news, and actually come to your website to explore more. So it is definitely worth to spend a little bit of time on writing your news intros. You can also, of course, create the full news article. I would still recommend to keep it to 600 words, give a background information about what you are doing. So, but of course, you can feel free to create the text as long as you wish. But I would say keep it manageable. Event section is basically a space where you can promote your events on the website and again your potential attendees. Same as with the news section, it also appears in our program calendar, but only if you decide to, because there is a checkbox of basically adding this event to the public calendar or a program calendar. I would really recommend to use this only if it's a public event. So if it's an internal meeting, please keep it on your website. If it's an event which is open to public, then feel free to add it also to our program calendar. Same as for the news, I would say you do need a short, compelling descriptions in order to really make visitors or have give visitors good reason to attend. So again, even though it's a very short text, I do recommend to spend some time on it because at the end of the day, it might bring you some participants to your events. Next up on the project website is its Outputs tab. This is basically where you can show your impact. I know that you are only at the very early stages of the implementation. Nevertheless, I would like to encourage you to complete this section already now. You can easily click in development checkbox, so it is clear to the visitor that this section is still or this output is still in a development and there is more to come. But you can definitely already outline what key outputs and pilot actions will be taking place in your project. Here, very similar to the program website, the news section, uh, we will soon, in a few months' time, maybe in the spring of next year, have a common program output library, and all your outputs will be displayed there. So basically, we are having a pretty similar situation as we have with the news. There will be very soon around 1,000 or maybe more than 1,000 outputs available in this section. So again, please take time in writing your short descriptions for your outputs, make them really clear and describe your key features of the output. So it is very easily understandable to the user, especially if they actually come across your output in our output library, which will be basically full of other outputs of other projects. So clarity and also concreteness is really important here. You can upload also a documents to this section. If there is too many of them, feel free to zip them. And one more thing I would really like to say, please avoid output reference numbers. This is really insiders language and people out there do not understand them and they are actually not important at all. And media is the last tab on your project website. Videos and images are not just an accessory, they are sort of a part of your story. So we use this section to show some videos or images, give a visitor glimpse into your project and the work you do. You can also present a communication materials here or also other documents. So this was overall for the structure. As you can see, there are quite some tabs which you can make use of for your project website, and I would encourage you to really make use of all of them because I think they all can provide a different type of information to the user and give them a little bit more insight into what you do in your project. As I said earlier, this is basically the frame, but it is you actually who needs to populate this frame with the content. And today already, I think there is, I was reading at the beginning of this year, there was more than 1 billion websites online. So as you can imagine, this number is just enormous. And so competition is fierce. So you can maybe ask yourself, how do I stand out and how do I make sure that my visitor actually comes to my website? Well, I think it has actually very simple answer, and that is basically by providing a really good content. Oh, sorry, I actually forgot to mention the copyright section. So just one more thing I want to bring attention to is that in a last couple of months, we had 2 cases of a copyright infringement. So please pay attention when you are uploading your images because of course it can result in a low case. Make sure that your images are you have a source for your images and add your copyright information into the caption section of the image. This metadata information of the image actually is important not only for the search engine optimization, but also for the website accessibility. So please take time to actually create your alt text descriptions because they really make user accessibility easier and they are also much better when it comes to screen readers. If you are struggling to find free images and videos, you can basically search a Creative Commons library, which is full of copyright-free images and videos. But even in this case, please write in a caption that it is coming from the Creative Commons. This is just to make sure that you avoid any problems. At the end of the day, the project website is a responsibility of the project lead partner. So if there is a copyright infringement case, we will be, I'm afraid, contacting you. So please pay attention to this. So as I said earlier, at the end of the day, with the big amount of information that is out there and with all this noise, you really have only few seconds to make an impression. So I really do encourage you to make it count and make it, find the time to actually create the content that is user friendly and interesting for the visitors. How to write a good content? I know that it is actually sometimes much more difficult to write a long article than the short one. And when it comes to the website writing, I think the most important thing is really to turn what you want to say into what your visitor wants to know. So I know that it's very tempting to just copy paste an application form and just hope that people will pick it up. But this is not really way how we consume online content these days. So, we really scan the information. We are looking for a quick answers. So having a very sort of short and a crisp text on your website is really way forward. I would like to show you this example. Maybe you are familiar with this website. This is a website of a British government. It actually has been around for a while. Well, maybe you are thinking, yeah, it looks like it has been here for a while. But trust me, this website has been winning numerous awards, digital awards throughout the years. And even actually in a survey from the last year, no, I mean, even I think this year's survey, it came up as a top digital service in the country. So you might be asking why and what's the secret behind it. Basically, I think if you are a British citizen, you don't come to this website to check out the latest design trends. You really don't care about that. You come here, you want to find certain information, you want to do a certain task, complete the task, and move on with your life, basically. And this website, even though it looks very simple, it's actually in a backend infrastructure of more than 50 applications, but yet it's really accessible to user. And the reason for that, because they spend a really lot of time on writing a content for this website with the user in mind. So if you want to have a returning visitors, I think this basically applies also for a content on your website. If you have a user in mind when you are writing your content pieces, I think you can not go wrong, basically. So after all, it's really not so much about more content, but the smarter content. I don't know if you caught in the news last week that the Oxford Word of the Year 2024 is a brain rot. I don't know if you are familiar with this term, but what it really basically means is an overexposure to online, poor online content. So I guess this is not something we want to contribute to. So I really would like to stress here that it's so much more about quality than quantity. And with this, I would like to hand actually floor to Luisa, unless you actually have already some questions, who will give you some tips on how to write this user-centered content for your website. But perhaps you have any immediate questions about working with the project website. I mean, many of you said that it's very easy to use, so this is very encouraging to see. But if you have any questions, you can also write them in a chat or just raise your hand. No one. So I think it's all very clear. I'm glad to hear. Oh, there is one. I have a question regarding the photo galleries on the website because I have noticed that often in the news the inserted galleries disappear by themselves, or at least the inserted images remain very blurred. How is it possible to solve this? Elisa, do you mean the gallery in the news section?
Hi, good morning. Yes, the photo gallery is in the news section. Sometimes it disappears.
Okay, I think that probably is connected with the way how you insert the images. Do you copy paste them or you go through inserting the image? I mean, there is probably a reason why there is this issue. Probably the way how.
We usually upload images by the media section.
Okay, so you basically insert the image into the media section and then you link it to the website,
Yes.
to the news piece. I see. Well, that should be actually working. Did it happen that basically you created the news and saved it, and then when you came back, it disappeared?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, then perhaps there is some issue with this, and maybe we can talk about this bilaterally. And if you send me a sample of the news where you had this problem, then I can have a closer look.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. We wonder, Emoke is asking, we wonder if we can use the map on the front page for our heat map to be produced and shared. Okay, you mean the map which is in a partnership section on the homepage?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, you can use it, but basically we are using an OpenStreetMap, so it's actually readily available, but I guess you are talking about the design of it.
Yes, we had an initial assessment and we will produce a heat map to show the results in Central Europe, like what is the initial state where we are starting, and it will be shown on a map showing the results. And we wondered if that map is something that we can use.
Yes, I mean, I think you can. It's actually open source, so I don't see a reason why not. Please get in touch with me and we can talk. Maybe I can also share the design, the overlay design with you, so you can make use of that too.
Thank you, Katarina.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Does anyone want to raise their hand? Or if not, then in any case, if you come across any issues with the project website, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. As I said at the beginning, there is a user manual in backend of your website interface, which has a lot of tips on how to use the website, but also how to write the content for it. And the last thing is that the demo page, which we created, is in the own cloud. Ametka has a question.
Yes, sorry, I joined in late. I
Don't
just
worry.
wanted to know about the website. We have developed two tools that we would like to promote on the website, and I was wondering if it's possible to not add another section to promote those tools.
Well, we have a section of outputs where actually your solutions should be presented. So I would recommend you to link it to the output section, because then, of course, it will also appear in an output library, our program output library. And then I would also probably recommend to write a short news about it to tease visitors and get them to know about the tool.
Yes, but I think it would be more visible if there was a separate section, because these are two websites, basically, that will be integrated. So if there's an option to do so, it would be great.
Well, you have a media section, but I think, to be honest, I think it really is the output of your project, which I think would be really most sensible to have in your output section. So this is where it should really be. But yeah,
But you can only place a link there.
You
can you place a button inside?
Yes.
Yes. And you do that how?
You just need to write the description in the output section, select solution, and then it prompts you for the link. So basically what you do, you will describe the tool and then select solution and then add the link to your tool, so it will directly take the user to the tool. I mean, I can just get in touch with me. We can also talk bilaterally and I will explain to you how to do it.
No, I know how it works with the links. I just wanted to, because we don't have the option to code. I would insert the buttons. Okay, I'll find another way or I'll contact you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And here is one more question. If I attached a photo of a meeting, for example, should I add some description in a copyright section? Basically, if it's your photo, when it comes to the caption, of course, you are the owner, you don't need to put the source. Nevertheless, I would still recommend to enter the information into the meta description, because as I mentioned earlier, you know, if you are using a screen reader for a website, then it is accessible also. Otherwise, without the meta description, screen reader cannot really understand what is going on there, so it's just skipped. So it's just basically a good practice how to do it. So for any picture you upload to the website, please take your time and write a short alternative text and description. It's just good practice. Any more questions? No, for now. Okay, great. So then in that case, I would like to ask Luisa to join us and tell us more about writing that good content, which I have mentioned throughout my presentation on your website.
Yes, thank you, Katharina. Okay, then I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, do you see it? Yes, all right. Okay, then good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about how to create content that people like to read. And therefore, at first, words matter. You all know that. But what does that mean? For me, it does mean that you need to that you don't need to write the most lyrical, beautiful texts. It mainly is about choosing the right words to serve your content. The easier the audience can draw the information out of your sentences, the better they are. So keep it short is the first keyword. Use short and simple sentences. Aim for content that is easy to read and understand, and use mainly nouns and verbs and not much of adverbs and adjectives. So make it very clear. That's the first point. The second point is use inverted pyramid. I don't know if you heard about that. That means you first put the most important information to make a point and help the reader to get the most important statement, and then comes the rest. So that the reader instantly understands the purpose of the text that you are writing. Yes, let's have a look. Have a deeper look on keep it short. What does that mean? I want to make it a bit more figurative. So instead of doing that, I recommend to do this. Meaning, here's your audience. Don't make it very beautiful and long and use lots of words and make it very complicated by that. but do it really clearly and short, coming from you to your audience. I want to give an example on that. Please have a look on that text and read through. Okay, then let that sink. And I recommend to do, for example, this instead. You can use questions to make it more interesting. Like, can there be healthy people without healthy forests, without fresh air, clean water, climate regulation, biodiversity, and natural recreation places? The answer is no. What we need now is commitment. That's basically the same information, but put in a very short way and in a way that is more interesting than that before. Of course, the text before seems to be very beautifully written and reads like a poem. But what we want to do here is make it easy to understand and involve the people. You can involve people, for example, by asking questions, like you see this example here. Okay, the next key point is use active voice. Active voice helps the reader to read the sentences more easily and is also more direct than using passive voice. Then, in order to support the content, give it a clear structure. So you need headlines, and the structure helps your page to make it more scannable, so that the reader can quickly see what is important for me now and what is not. I want to have a closer look on the use of active voice, because that's a very important thing to remember. So instead of that, I recommend to do this. What does that mean? It means instead of hiding and instead of using very indirect terms, be direct, show your face, show or say with the sentences, who do you address? Who needs to do something? Are you doing something, or is somebody somewhere doing something? So you need to be really clear about that. To give you one example, instead of that, please have a look and read through. So I hope you have already read the statement. And now I want you to read this, or I read that out loud. The key actors to put that objective into practice are the policy and decision makers in certain forested regions. So the first sentence is very direct. They are the people who have the opportunity and power to make a change. They are the ones we aim to offer well-founded explanations and solutions. So I hope you see the difference from the first to the second. The second really names who needs to do what. It names the policy and decision makers to do something, and names them as the people who are in power to change something. At the same time, this sentences show that we are, that meaning we are as a project at the Healthy Forest Regions project, I took that example from, are the ones who aim to offer solutions. So at one hand, you have the policy and decision makers who need to do something, and at the other hand, we are showing our face and say we as a project want to achieve that or this. Okay, next point. is avoid abbreviations and jargon. The website is for everyone and not just for experts, meaning all of us are working in some kind of an expert bubble. But we need to remember that the website is not only for the ones who are in this bubble, but also for the people who are outside. So we need to avoid insider language. And as Katharina already said, keep it fresh. The website always has to be updated, and there always has to be effort to do that. But you don't only have to do that by yourself. So you are probably the lead partner and are responsible for the project communication, but you also have the other partners in your network. So integrate them, ask them for giving you also content and texts, and then you can adapt those texts you get from the partners. Adapt them accordingly to this presentation. Make it short, make it clear, make it fun to read, maybe even. Yes, and I want to have a closer look on this avoidance of abbreviations, but more on that jargon language. So again, we have, instead of that, maybe you remember the curve I showed you in the beginning, and here you've got another curve. And then you can add this, and that makes it really, really unattractive. So we want to avoid something like that, but again, do it like this. So you saw that before. It's very short, it's clear, it's easy to understand, just a few dots, just a few words, and not this kind of very frightening graph you see in the top. So I also want to give you one example on that. Instead of that, yes, you're now have to read this, because that's very important. That is a text that often appears on project websites. So of course we're in this bubble of experts, and we tend to write text like that. So please have a look and read through. Okay, I guess it would be very interesting to ask you to summarize this text. What is it saying to you? I guess most of you would be like, I don't know, something about climate and biodiversity, something like that. So I also recommend, again, like we did before, it's the same information that we already had. And it's the same, you can also use the same short version, like asking questions, being direct, not using jargon, not using beautifully poem sentences, but easy to read. So an alternative could be, can there be healthy people without healthy forests, without fresh air, clean water, climate regulation, biodiversity, and natural recreation places? The answer is no. What we need now is commitment. So again, it's the same information, but in a complete different way. And it's your responsibility and also your chance to choose. Do you want this big and some kind of fear-making expert language, super long text? Or do you want to make it very easy? And don't be afraid that it might be too unscientific or too low key or something like that. This is exactly what we want. We want to make the most of the people understand what we are doing, what are we doing in our projects. And therefore we can use easy language. So don't be afraid. You can use the expert language in the context of expert workshops. Then it's really fitting and suits very well. But on the website, we go for the easy version. So, and you see again the same text. And now the question, who helped me to write this text? Yes. I guess you might have an answer. And the answer, it was artificial intelligence. So the small text I wrote myself that you see at the bottom, or that you saw at the bottom. And then I put that small text into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to write this text in a long version with very much expert terms and in a very complicated way. And this is what ChatGPT made out of it. So you see, you can also do that way around. So if you have a text like that on the top here, you can also put that in ChatGPT or another AI software and ask it to reformulate the text into easy words, into short sentences, into questions. So you can do it one way around or another. And I really recommend to use AI to adapt texts according to the audience. And Katharina will get back to this point after my presentation.
Thank you, Louisa. I think it's actually very valid, important point at the end of your presentation. At the beginning, you said words matter, and I think this is very true. I think we should actually treat the words, each word very, specifically, and take our time with what we put out there as an online content, not only online content, but indeed with the Gen AI here with us. And going nowhere. I think in case you are struggling with writing your texts, you can definitely make use of artificial intelligence. And if I may actually share some my slides here now, we have some resources for you. Okay, super. So yes, here is actually quite a compact list of different Gen AI tools which you can make use of. I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with the generative AI. I understand that you are probably a communication manager plus all other things because you have all other jobs to do, and you probably not have so much time for content writing. And as I mentioned earlier, very often it's actually more complicated to write a short text than a long one. Especially when you have your expert hat on, it's very difficult to try to get rid of all the detail. And when you actually come up with a short text, you are very often not satisfied because you think that it is missing this detail. But as Louisa said, writing for web is writing for everyone in a way. You don't know who your visitor is, and last thing you actually want to do is to put them off by writing very complex and a lengthy text. So I invite you to actually explore the Gen AI tools. Here is a list of a few tools which are free to use. Some are for content creation and writing. Some are also for multimedia and creativity, so you can actually also create some images, audio, even generate a code. Gamma is, for example, for presentation creation. This is also a fun thing to use. There are also tools for readability and editing. I mean, they actually have been around already for a while, and this is always a good to check back to improve the readability of your text. And if you are concerned with the privacy and compliance, which is also a big issue now around AI, then there are certain platforms which are GDPR compliant and hosted in the EU, like a Text Cortex, also Cloud AI. So maybe we can actually see who in this room is already using AI for their work. If you could join us on a slido.com, CE #CE content. Oh, 50%, okay. Ooh, okay. Wow, so most of the people, well, actually are already familiar with the artificial intelligence. We probably still have actually enough time to maybe put you in breakout rooms to maybe discuss your experiences and share some tips how you use AI for your work. maybe, what you learned by using, what tips would you share with your fellow communication managers? So if we can maybe start a breakout room for 5 minutes and then bring you back, and we can maybe also all together share some tips on how to approach the Gen AI in our work, especially in a communication.
So we are starting the breakout rooms now. Now everyone is coming back. Yeah. All the breakout rooms have been closed.
Great. I hope you had interesting discussions in your breakout rooms. I was in a breakout room with Alana, and we have discussed actually a bit that they, within their company, are using a generative AI, especially for ideation. Not so much for writing. I think is also sort of a policy. And we sort of also came to conclusion that we might be actually very happy to create the content with the generative AI, but we might be not so happy to consume a content which is obviously generated by AI. And we sort of agreed that this is the matter of really not copy pasting from the artificial intelligence tools, because indeed, if you do a text, just a simple copy paste, it just screams at you that this was generated not by a human, by the robot. So it is indeed really probably the best to consider it as a starting point for your work, as a draft, which you can further work on. But would anyone maybe share some experiences or interesting things that you learned in your breakout rooms with us? Silence. Okay, fine, no worries.
Yes. Maybe.
Yasmin, you want to say something?
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Yes, I hope you can hear me clearly because
Yes,
my
yes,
internet is a
very
little bit
well.
unstable. Very good. So we actually had the opportunity to discuss the different generative AI that we use, because after all, it's a matter of preference. But we talked about actually what matters, which is how you interact with this tool and how you use it. And I also talked a little bit about personas, because they also helped me at the beginning before actually crafting my content, because I always bear in mind that whether this content will appeal to my personas, which are mainly two for the 3 projects. So we talked a little bit about that. We also like discussed what Louisa said about the jargon, not using a very sophisticated jargon, but actually this can also be tricky at times because it's easier said than done. We don't also want that content to be too flat. So we usually ask the question, would this content appeal to both technical experts, which is for me at least personally, persona number 1, and also like normal citizens who might be activists simply, or just interested in knowing more about the topic and engage with it. So, and the question is whether we can actually strike a balance. It is not easy, but it's nevertheless feasible, and AI can help with that. So, but it's also important to like strike that balance, not too flat and not too sophisticated, so that it can appeal to both segments. Or if you have more than 2 personas, then it can appeal to all your segments at once.
Indeed,
that is.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you.
No, please go ahead.
I'm very glad that you are actually talking about the user personas, because indeed this is something which can help you to step out of yourself a little bit and understand your users. And actually, we will be talking about this in our webinar today later on. So I'm glad that you actually brought that up. And indeed, it's a really fine line when you are creating a content to make sure that it appeals also to non-experts and also to experts. But at the end of the day, I think it also depends on a channel where you are communicating. So, it's different to communicate on a social media. It's different to communicate on your website, and it's very different to communicate on your digital platform or a tool. So actually, having a user in mind is really super important. So maybe I can now share slides again and we can move on unless somebody else wants to add something to this discussion. Okay. Okay, so actually here is just a summary basically of what most of you were probably talking about in your breakout rooms. I am not an expert on a generative AI. I am just a user who is just learning by doing in a way. But throughout the time, I have been using different tools. There are certain principles which I learned that really help. I think if when you give it a generic prompt, you will get a generic output. So I think it's really important to be clear and be also specific. And important is also to give it enough context. This is also what Yasmin was mentioning. You can also feed it with the information about your project. You can feed it with the information about your target groups, about your user personas. And more it knows, the better the output will be. Indeed, it's also very good if you consider the tone of voice and this thin line between expert, non-expert, but I guess it also helps in your prompts if you tell it for which channel you want to write the text. Very useful is probably also to ask AI to act as if some sort of persona or maybe a copywriter, let's say, or communication manager. So it actually puts itself into the shoes of that persona. And I think then in that case, the output is also going to be better. Don't remember also to maybe specify what sort of output you want to get, because we have learned that it can really generate everything from text to the bullet points to the summaries to the code. So more clearer you are, the better, of course, it is when it comes to the results. And also try to tell it what you want and what you don't want. This is really just the few tips which can help you to get to the better result when generating content faster. I also like to use examples. So if there is maybe a type of a text you specifically like, it's really not bad to actually feed it into the AI, so it actually models it on the style of the text you like. And the last one, which is I think the most important, this has been actually said, I probably in many of your breakout rooms, is that you should really never copy paste because indeed it's very easy to see when the content was generated by AI if it was not reworked. So if you do 100% copy paste, it is just really very obvious that it is not your content, but it is generated by artificial intelligence. So I think this is probably something which we will be touching on in future webinars as well, because I guess the AI is here to stay, and I think we need to just embrace it and make most of it. It can really help us in a various situation, not only for a content writing. So I think we will be learning more and more day by day, basically, and there will be, I'm sure, more and more platforms available as well for different purposes. So I'm sure that we will come to this topic, and probably in a year's time we will be talking about something completely different, because we would have moved on from just learning how to prompt. But I guess the conclusion is that if you write a very generic prompt, you can also write into the ChatGPT, write a news article for our website. You get only very generic result. If you spend a little bit more time on providing the context, like on this example, so you will tell it you are a website editor, write the 100 words news article for our website about upcoming workshop on a digital communication strategies. It should explain who the workshop is for, communication managers, what they will learn, effective communication planning, user-centered content writing, and storytelling on social media. Include a call to action to register on our website and use professional but approachable tone. I guess you will get a much better result than with the first prompt. So I guess we will be learning more and more about using a generative AI for our work, but maybe it is a time to explore how it can assist with our work and how we can make actually most of that. On this, I would maybe like to close for now for the artificial intelligence, and we have actually prepared, unless you have some questions, of course. I don't know if there are any questions. I can stop sharing for a moment. Okay, so I guess not. So in that case, we can move on with our webinar. Now we have prepared a short quiz on the basic principles of a good content writing. So please join us on Slido. As I said, it's a CE content. There will be for sure a winner at the end of this. It's only a few questions, but it's also timed. So there will be only one winner. I promise the questions are not very difficult, but they are really very much about, reiterating what was said already earlier today. What are the basic principles of writing a good content for your website? So let me share my screen again. Okay, so if you are ready, please join the Slido.
Okay, maybe just for the change of a voice, I can see that there are already 11 people there in the Slido joining us for the quiz. As Katka said, there will be just few questions, exactly 5 questions, and it matters, the correct answer matters, but also time matters. So I can see that there are 24 now participants in the quiz. Shall we maybe move on with 25? Yes, it's a half of people, but still remember, if Katka is now clicking on the next question, the time will start to run, and then you have the 20 seconds to answer. But with the 30, Katja, I think we can go, right?
Yes. I mean, of course, you still can join. CE content is the hashtag, and remember, there is a winner at the end. So maybe you get some Lebkuchen from Vienna. So I would encourage you to join us. So maybe we can move on to the first question. We have 33 of you here.
Super. And the first question reads, why should you know your audience when writing for web? Is it because to use more complex words, it doesn't really matter who the audience is, or to create content that matches what readers need and expect? So is it about readers' expectations, needs, complex words, or I think everyone got it right.
Wow. But it's the timing, the questions might be simple, but at the end of the day, only one winner there is. Okay, so we can move to another question.
What is the main goal of writing for web? To make the website look pretty, to share information that is clear and easy for users to follow, or to include as much information as possible? Again, 3 options, 8 seconds to go. It's pretty easy, I believe, but let's see whether we get it right and all of you get it right. To share information that is clear and easy. Exactly. Well done.
This is very easy quiz.
Easy for the experts, I guess. So we have a room full of experts here. What is the best way to make web content easy to read? Use short and clear sentences, add lots of descriptive words like adjectives or use long paragraphs with complete sentences. You remember Louisa's presentation, what is about, so I guess it is easy also to get this one right. Use short and clear sentences.
Wow.
Indeed.
It's very exciting. I wonder who will win.
Indeed. Last but one, what makes a good headline? A headline that is long and detailed, a headline that is short, clear, and tells users what the content is about, or a headline that is generic and appeals to everyone. This might be a bit trickier, right, Kachi?
Yeah, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, this was not so clear, but indeed it should be short, clear, and tell users what the content is about. So I'm curious now, the last one is the one with an abbreviation. What does a LP stand for? Is it the lead partner? Is it the long playing record? Or is it both? There is only one answer that is correct. And we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds to find out which one it was.
Ah, see?
This
This
is
is
gonna
very-
be the breaking point. So now
Indeed.
there's not that many people who got it right, but indeed the LP is also the old good vinyl records, right, Kati?
That's right. So it is, we can see that we are thinking in our expert head, with our expert head on. We see the lead LP only as a lead partner, but I guess it's good to remember that abbreviations might mean different things for different people. And now let's see who the winner is. Sylvia, you were the fastest. Anton was second. Tanya was third. Istvan was fourth. And well, the fifth was somebody who named themselves E. So congratulations. You are getting these Lebkuchens from Vienna. You have to get in touch and tell us where you're based and what your address is. Super. Thank you very much, Dana, for helping me with the quiz. And I guess we can now move on to the third part of our webinar, which is dedicated to digital tools and platforms. I guess many of you are developing platforms, tools, or applications in your projects. And we wanted to, as the topic of this webinar is very much about having a user in mind. This is the mantra. This is the repetitive thing which I want to continuously say. Having a user in mind is also important when you are developing your tool or platform, but also it's important, understanding your user is important for knowing where to find your audience. So maybe with the first question, I would be curious to know how many of you are developing a tool, app, or some sort of a platform in your project. Okay, so more than half are developing some sort of a platform in your project. Okay, so it will be definitely, hopefully, useful for you. For those who do not develop a digital tool or a platform in your project, I hope you will also find this section of the webinar interesting. We will be actually practically using some AI generators, so I hope that it will help you to understand better your audience and maybe in your work in the future. So as I was mentioning earlier, and this is also continuing on what Yasmin said, knowing your user is really important when you are creating a content for that. On a social media, you really try to create an interest. With the website, you provide more information about what you do, but with your digital tool, you actually require an interaction. You want to make them to use it. And this is actually the most difficult job out of these three, because to get somebody to use a tool is or app is really not that simple. You really need to make sure that what you are creating is for the user. And how can you ensure that your tool is actually built for the user? It's by understanding who your users are. There are many different ways how you can understand your audience. One of them is by creating personas. What is a persona? If you haven't come across this terminology, user persona is basically a fictional character, which is basically fictional character of your ideal customer, I would say. Maybe you came across UX design terminology. UX design or user experience design, so I don't talk in the abbreviations again for those who are not familiar with the process, is nowadays a very much integral part of any product development. What is the core of a UX design is actually really to understand the users which you are building the product for. Very often, actually, this process takes even longer than the actual development, but it's very important, especially in a business perspective, because the last thing you want to do is create solution which no one will use. And by creating personas, you start understanding what your customers might want and what they need. And most importantly, what are their actually pain points or problems. So with the user personas, you can really help yourself to step out of yourself in a way and to put yourself in the shoes of your user. Yasmin mentioned already last week in a webinar that they are using personas for their tool development. So maybe you could tell us a few words on how do you find this exercise and how does it help you with your work, Yasmin? Maybe I will stop sharing for a moment.
Yes, thank you so much, Katarina. So as Katarina explained just now, the personas are actually fictional characters, which means they don't actually exist, but they reflect the potential users or segments that we can focus on. And of course, this depends on your project. For us, for specifically Ginevra and 3Pass, for example, we identified two, as I said, but the two doesn't mean that we only can focus on these two personas, which are actually public authorities and civil society representatives. But of course, there are also some sub-segments which might represent citizens that are simply interested. They're not experts, they're not civil society representatives, but nonetheless, they are interested in knowing more about, let's say, NBS, nature-based solutions, or they are interested in AVs with Ginevra automated vehicles. So it's important when we craft our content, especially for the digital tools, to bear in mind these personas. And a little hack that I usually adopt each time is to ask myself the question, would this actually be appealing to all the personas? If I am to put myself in the shoes of my personas, if I put the casket or the hat of an expert, would this be appealing to me, or would it be too flat? And at the same time, I put another hat, which is the hat of a normal citizen who doesn't even know what maybe NBS means or AV means. And I try to put myself in the shoes of this persona, and I ask myself, if I am to read and engage with this content, would I actually find it appealing? Would I want to know more? Would I want to follow this platform or this project in general? So, as I said, it might be tricky at the beginning, but it's a practice. At first, it might seem hard to strike this balance, but with practice, you will learn how to tailor your content in a way or in a manner that would appeal to all your personas that, of course, you create at the beginning. And AI, as we discussed before, helps a lot. It actually personally helps me a lot in crafting my personas because they are fictional after all. But they help you to map and to actually brainstorm on your content while bearing in mind your segments or personas. I hope this was clear enough, but do not hesitate to ask me questions.
I don't know if anyone from our participants have a question to Yasmin, but indeed it's really important to understand your users, because only that way you can really create the content which will resonate with them. And as you mentioned as well, Yasmin, today with so many Gen AI tools around, you can make your work easier for you. I totally understand that you are not a UX designers, and you probably don't have or might have experience with creating personas or user journeys. Nevertheless, even if you do, this process actually takes quite some time, and you should really incorporate all team into this. But perhaps, in the context of your project, you can speed up all this process and jump this process in a way with using a generative AI tools, which can help you to map your user audiences, but also create your user personas. And in this last part of this webinar today, we would actually like to do a short, practical exercise with you in a breakout rooms using one of these Gen AI platforms. It's a very simple tool which can help you really in no time to better understand who your users are. So let me share my slides again. Okay, so on this slide, I hope you see my screen. Yeah. Okay, so on this slide, I have an example of one of our first call projects, Lekha. They are developing a mobile application which should track large carnivores in the Carpathians. The aim of the app is actually to help users to report sightings and share data across the borders. I'm really ultimately making it easier to prevent conflicts with the wildlife and protect these animals. So if you are unsure how to approach this user persona exercise, and it doesn't matter which tool eventually you use for the development of them, it can be also ChatGPT. What you really have to start with is a product description. So in your case, if we are talking about a specific tool or a platform you are developing, you really need to nail down what this tool or a platform is supposed to deliver. So this is really first important step in the process. And once you have it, and of course, this is just a very short description here, but you can, of course, go a little bit more into the detail because more detail, as I was saying earlier, you provide in a tool, the better will be the results when it comes to your target groups and also the user personas. So now we would like to split you in a breakout rooms and ask you to maybe try out one of these tools. Basically, the idea of the exercise, I know there is quite a lot of instructions here, but don't be scared. It's actually pretty straightforward. It would be important to start with appointing a lead in your group, so who will share the screen because you will have to be online. Here is the link to the Builder OS, which we will be using. It's a generative AI tool. You can use Lekha app description, which was on a screen before, but you can also use your own app or platform description if you want to try it out. As a first step of the exercise, I mean, now it might sound very, very detached, but once you are in a builder, it will become really clear. Please start with generating a target groups. There is a link, it will be all shared in a chat with you, so don't worry, you don't need to write it down. It will be all available in a chat. Once you generated the target groups, please choose one of them and generate persona for it. And once you know the persona or have the persona ready, please discuss in your group where you would find this persona and how would you reach out to them. And of course, if there is a time, feel free to share your own experiences with the tool development if you have any. So I guess maybe before we split you into the breakout rooms, let me stop sharing the screen. Dana has already, thank you, copied all this information into the chat. I'm just wondering if you have any questions before we put you in a breakout room. So it's 15 minutes, I think, for you to work together and maybe share some
Yes, sorry,
practices. Yes.
Katarina. Sorry, for this app, the Buildos, we need to, if we want to register, we need to pay, right?
No, you don't need to. You can use it for free.
Okay. Okay, so I'll try because for me, I got in and it says to access it, I have to pay either 49 or 199.
Really? I mean, I have it.
If I go to the builderos.com, then it
Yes,
says
free tool.
get builder free tool.
Free tools, yes.
Maybe I'm on the wrong.
Did you try the links which are in a chat?
Let me see. No, I put it on Google Map.
I see.
Just
I mean,
so
I think they might have a paid version for certain things, but
explore our free tools.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
so it should work because I mean, when we tested it ourselves,
Perfect.
it
Thank
did
you.
not ask for any kind of a payment. Well, this is one of the things with the AI tools. Of course, some are for free, some are not for free, and there will be more and more of those which you will have to pay for. So I guess you have to select which ones you want to use for your work. But in this instance, it should work, but please do let me know if there are any problems. So if this is okay, then we can now split you into the breakout rooms for 15 minutes.
It's already 11 a.m. and some people need to leave,
Yes.
but we hope that you still have some time to spend on this. So I have already recreated the breakout rooms, and
I hope that you found the exercise at least a little bit useful and that you might actually make use of the tool also for your work. I was in a group with Anton, Sylvia, Remy, and Manuela. I think that we were discussing that it is a really good starting point for understanding the users, especially when you are developing a digital tool. And Anton was actually very rightly saying that he is now going to join the development development team of the tool, the platform they are developing together in a project, because he feels that actually he can actually bring some information to the table, understanding the users, making sure that what the solution that they are developing actually will resonate with the people and will be used. So I hope you found it useful. In any case, there is a lot of tools out there which you can make use of, so feel free to do so. I think it's very helpful, especially with the, as I said earlier, being a communication manager in a project means that you have also all other different tasks to do, and you don't have a time for a UX development process as such. So this can really help you to speed up the things. I will just conclude with the last slide very quickly. I hope you see it. So actually, this is Alex. Maybe you came across Alex in your exercise because Alex seems to be the first person which comes up in this tool. Nevertheless, it doesn't really matter. I used Alex here. This is a very condensed version of the persona. I guess you saw in the tool that you can get much more information out of the tool, which I find actually very useful. So this is just basically an example coming from the tool. So Alex is as an occupation forest patrol, living in a town near Carpathian Forest, and his or hers, well, hers motivation is to ensure safety of both wildlife and the people in the area. And how the app could help is by providing a easy real-time reporting, showing population data trends to predict conflict-prone areas. So now knowing this and actually much more about Alex, user persona Alex, you would probably start thinking, and it will help you to actually identify where would you find Alex. You know, I was telling actually in our group that this app, which is called Carney Track App, I think this is the name of the app, is eventually going to end up in a Google Play Store. Currently in a Google Play Store, there is more than 2 million apps. In the Apple iStore, there is another 2 million apps. So chances that Alex stumbles across this Carney Track app are just minimal. You know, that's just not gonna happen. So especially with the tool development, it's really important that you actually look for your audience and you actually do a targeted communication, reach out to them. So now knowing more about Alex, you would probably think, okay, Alex is a forest patrol. Probably will be, I can find her, we're saying her, in a forest and wildlife offices in the Carpathians, maybe in a workshops, trainings on a wildlife monitoring and a conflict prevention techniques, or in a national park staff meetings or forest patrol association. So probably not so much on a social media, but in these places. And knowing where Alex is, you can also much easier think how to reach Alex. So it would probably make sense to collaborate with national parks and forestry services to distribute the app directly to the patrols, or maybe offer in-field training sessions or workshops which will show how to use the app, or provide printed guides or posters about the app at the patrol station. So I think this whole understanding of the user is really crucial when you have to do a targeted communication, because it really opens your eyes in a sense of how to reach out to your audience. So I would actually like to conclude with this golden rule, and thank you very much for being with us. It's already 20 minutes more than we planned. I would like to conclude with this golden rule number 2, which was presented by Frank last week in the webinar, that there is really no one-size-fits-all approach. What, how, and where you communicate really depends on the audience you are reaching out for. So I hope that this red thread through this webinar today of having a user in mind will sort of stay with you, and that you will use it in your communications.